everybody. We're just going to give everyone about 1 or 2 more minutes to get in the waiting to get in, and then we'll get started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Curriculum Night. Thank you so much for coming to the first session. Just a reminder, if you could stay on mute, we would appreciate it. And also that questions can be put in the chat or at the end, raise your hand. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. If we don't know the answer, we will get back to you in a timely fashion. Also, the big elephant in the room, what's going to happen in February? Good question. We want to know too. So a lot of the questions that I know that is on your mind, that are on our minds as teachers, will be answered in the next couple of weeks. And if you have a direct question about it, you can always email our principal, Mrs. Yarlett. And also the PTA and Mrs. Yarlett are sponsoring meetings every Tuesday at 6:30 until we start into the new model. And more information will come out about those meetings. So welcome again. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, so I'll meet the K grade team. You know us already, but first we have Mrs. Kamoff, and here's her email right down here. We were just hearing from Mrs. Glenn Schuler and myself, Mrs. Hesford. So these are the K teachers every day in the classroom. And we have some other teachers that support us.
Yeah, so this is our support team. So I know all of you know the first two right here. Mr. Fatu, he's our occupational therapist, and Mrs. Straight, she's our speech pathologist. And both of them push into the kindergarten classrooms to support us. Plus, they also work with kids that get occupational therapy and speech therapy. The one in the middle is Mr. Amy. He's our physical therapist. So he also works with some of the kids that get PT. Phenomenal. They're all phenomenal service providers. And Mrs. McInerney, who we actually have here today. Mrs. McInerney, she's one of our instructional coaches and our intervention teacher. So I know you've already seen her pulling the kids and helping us with assessments. And as we go on, she'll work with kids, pulling groups of kids for reading to help them with their reading. Ms. McInerney, do you want to say hi?
Hello. I know some of you have heard my voice coming through. So hopefully I'll be working with all your kiddos soon.
Thank you.
Okay, so hopefully you guys know that we have a school webpage, School 23, and we each have our own classroom webpage. And again, if you go onto our school webpage under teachers, you can search for my name, it's Katie Hesford, and it's just things all about me, our rough daily schedule, seesaw tips, and we're trying to update this a little bit more, maybe with just some things and activities you can maybe do at home to support their learning, but you can always find out more information there about what's going on. And here are Ms. Kamoff and Ms. Glenn Schuler's classroom. So again, you just go to the school webpage, hit on teacher, click on their name, it'll take you right to their classroom page. So that's always a resource you can utilize and visit.
So I think most of you have probably signed up with the Seesaw family. Seesaw family is what we do most of our communication through. We do emails, but probably the quickest way to get to us during the day is through Seesaw because we are basically on that the whole day. If you have not signed up, either at the end, just put it in the chat that I need help, or email us and we'll be more than happy to help you get on Seesaw. Also, just for a reminder that Seesaw Pre-K through second is the learning platform that we use. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. This is where we put all the children's assignments on, and we will continue using this through the whole year.
So this is culturally responsive pedagogy, and culturally responsive instruction is embedded with the assets students bring to school every day, their knowledge, their history, culture, and values, and the starting point each day. So as we're designing our lessons for the kids, we really want to think about how they learn and how they're going to be successful. So we try to incorporate different ways of learning, different movements, different visuals, discussion, so that kids can really connect to their learning. And then this is just overall our instructional components at School 23, which all of you are pretty familiar with now. So we do our workshop model. So that's when you'll see us teach. We'll teach a mini lesson, either in math or ELA, and then we'll kind of break out into our small group instruction. So that's when the teachers might have a group of kids. Some kids might go work on do their activities. So we do that for both math and ELA. Targets. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the learning slide, but you've all seen us use our learning targets throughout the lesson. MTSS time, that's basically an intervention block. And right now we're primarily using it for ELA, and we're using Success Maker as our intervention right now. Differentiated instruction. So I know as a lot of the parents have already seen, even in Seesaw, different kids already have different activities depending what they need, what they're working on. So whether it's in a group with a teacher or their activities, we can base the activities on what they need to work on. Project-based learning, right now we're doing more theme-based. We're doing a lot of different themes. We did winter, we did fall. Now we're doing animals, all about animals and how they move, what they need. FOSS kids, so for science, we've done a lot of the mystery science videos that we've seen. We also have FOSS kids that we're going to be doing a little bit more with later on in the year as well. And then we do for math, we have Zern, we have Happy Numbers, which a lot of the kids seem to like right now. We do Success Maker, and as I mentioned, mystery science. So the learning targets, what is the purpose of the learning target? So the learning target is the statements where you see I can, and we really want the students to be able to tell us what they're learning. So whether it's, I can blend sounds to read words. So at the end of the lesson, the kids should be able to tell us if we ask them, what are you learning? Why are you learning it? And we want them to really kind of internalize that so they know what to expect as well. And it just helps them take ownership of their learning. So that's our learning targets.
You might have seen this in the back of in my class, their binders. These are just kindergarten goals, and this is not nearly covering everything that we are planning on doing by the end of the year, but just some basic things like writing their first and last name. And Miss Kamoff, or Jamie, sorry, has talked about differentiation, where some kids are writing just their first name, some are ready to go with their first and last name. So like in the next supply pickup, I think, I'm planning on including that with some of my students. We want them to know their colors, the letter names, the letter sounds. And we really have been going through with our skills program, learning each letter sound. And hopefully, I think this is the month we'll finish with all 25 of the letters we will get to know. So that will be fantastic. Knowing vowels, hopefully you're seeing your kids sounding out words and blending them. A lot of sight words. The kids have been doing a great job with that, writing the sight words, rhyming, segmenting words. So again, great with they can read, but the other, segmenting means like, let's say they want to write. So if you want them to write fan, they're gonna have to break it down going and write each of those sounds. We just had our shape unit, so I can identify shapes, numbers 1 to 20, writing numbers, maybe 1 to 100, counting 100 by ones, but also by tens. And we're hoping to, add and subtract by within 10. So these are just some basic overall kindergarten goals that we have for this year.
Okay, so I'm looking more specifically at our language arts. That's our ELA block. So the CKLA, for that, we're using our skills program. And you see, we use that pretty heavily, our skills program. Mind you, we're focusing more on a lot of comprehension and vocabulary. That's when we'll do stories and discuss the stories. And we're also using Success Maker. So as Mrs. Hester said, some of the skills we're working on is segmenting and blending words. So blending is when you put the words together to read it. So this word fan, we want the kids to be able to go fan. And segmenting is taking it apart. It's breaking it apart. He said, if you want to be able to read or write fan, we want them to hear those sounds and kind of tapping it out. So go fan. So sight words she talked about. And then with this, decode and encode words with short vowels, blends, and digraphs. So as you've seen in skills, kids are getting really good with 3-letter words. We call those CVC words, consonant, vowel, consonant. And then in our next unit, we're actually going to start with blends. So those are 4-letter words. So that'll be a word like slug or frog. We want them to sound out those words. And then the following unit will actually be digraphs. So 2 letters that make the same sound. So like SH says sh, CH says ch. So they could read words like chop and shop. So that's kind of where we're going with that, with the skills program. And it all builds up. So once they can sound out the words, we want them to read sentences and we want them to read books, all with words that they can sound out. And then, so for writing, write 2 to 3 simple sentences using inventive spelling, capitalization, finger spaces, and simple punctuation. And I'll talk about that more on the next slide. And also answering grade level questions. That's a big thing too, being able to answer a question and answer in a complete sentence. So if you want to go to the next slide. So writing, we could probably spend a whole hour just talking about writing. And it's hard to teach writing virtually. And I know a lot of parents, you know, they have questions. Should I tell them how to spell the word? Should I give them the word? So in kindergarten, we do what's called inventive spelling. At this point, we don't expect them to spell every word correctly. We want them to stretch it out and listen for the sounds. So this sentence says, I made a snowman with my family. So we could start with I, capital I. That might be a sight word that they know they could write. In made, if they stretch it out, made, maybe they hear the beginning sound and the ending sound. And that's okay if they don't hear any other letters. A snowman. Same thing with snowman. Oh, man. So writing down the sounds that they hear. Some of the sight words that we've done, some of the really simple sight words like my and the, if we taught it to them, we will start expecting them to write it correctly. So like my is the word that we've done. So they might write my correctly. So if your child is asking you, Mom, how do we spell this word? A good prompt would be, okay, let's stretch it out. What are the sounds that you hear? And if they only hear the beginning sound, that's okay. They could write down, you know, if they write down S for snowman right now, that's okay. So just kind of prompting them, what sound you hear, what sound you hear. And that'll really help build their skills for writing. So, and that's fun. Writing's a lot of fun.
Yes. Next is math. You know, we use math modules where each unit is a different unit of study. So far, we've done numbers 1 to 10. We've done shapes, and now we are in measurement. You know, we've started off the year using Zern, and you know, in kindergarten, it's kind of dry. It's the same 5 games over and over, and I think the kids were like, "Oh, not again." So we were lucky to get Happy Numbers free this year for our class, and it seems like the kids are enjoying it. It's, you know, a little bit more gamey and animated, so they seem to be excited about that, and it's really great because it isn't the same 5 games. It really goes with our units, you know. So it went right to with module 1, numbers 1 to 10. It has a unit with shapes, and now a lot of the kids are doing the measurement as we're learning. So that's fantastic. And the kids were able to take like a quick assessment to see, you know, how they did, and it placed them where they should be at. Some skills we're working on, and we're hoping to have achieved by the end of kindergarten. Again, as I mentioned before, is count to 100 by 1s and 10s, and that's something we do every day in our class, you know. So we're always practicing that. You know, we've started beginning with this adding and subtracting within 5, you know, like we'll do some basic things, and we're going to really do a deep dive in that in the next unit of study. So they're going to get good with that. Counting and grouping count a group of objects accurately, identifying those 2D and 3D shapes, and as we are right now in familiarity with the beginning measurement. So these are the skills we're really going to be working on and solidifying by the end of kindergarten.
So in science, we are very fortunate that at 23 school that we are able to have a lot of different resources. Thanks to Mr. Beck. If you don't know who Mr. Beck is, you will hear his name a lot for your whole 7 years at school 23, your child. But he helps us a lot get materials that we may not get normally. So we are able to get what we call FOSS kits. And FOSS kits are based on the next generation standards. We have used a little bit of them this year. It's been difficult with the virtual learning. So another thing that Mr. Beck was able to get us was the Mystery Science, which has more virtual type things that we can do together. And of course, all the videos. Most of our study for science this year is weather. And of course, that's where you get into the different seasons. Also, what type of weather, we're tracking weather, plants. We haven't talked much about that this year. That will definitely be a spring subject. And we just started animals, and we'll start animals, kind of stop it for a while, and then do a bigger dive into animals with life cycles later on in the year. Our social studies subjects are families. We've done a lot talking about families, past and present, traditions, community. We started that a little bit. We'll do a bigger dive in that. Maps, we started a little bit with maps. Like again, that's a subject for later on. Citizenship, and another big one is past and present.
The next is our subject areas. If you've been around your kids every day, we have 45 minutes of a special. The first one is art, and Mrs. English is the art teacher. You can feel free, like again, if you visit the Francis Parker School 23 website and you go under art, you can go ahead and visit her page to learn more about her and the things that she'll be working on and her outlook for the year. So that's art. And then next was music with Mrs. P. And I will go ahead, and she recorded a little thing for us to listen to.
Welcome to the virtual music room. I am Miss Poloshenski, or Miss P, and this is my 3rd year at Francis Parker School 23. I have the great pleasure of teaching all grade levels general music, as well as teaching choir and band to grades 4 through 6. This year has been unlike any other. While we have not been able to be in the music room, music has been made. I have placed a strong emphasis on musical literacy in all grade levels, varying in complexity based on age. Kids have been composing, improvising, reading, and performing music using their voices, body percussion, and online programs, such as Quaver's Marvelous World of Music. Furthermore, we have focused on learning and appreciating world music and music history. When we return hybrid, I will maintain the same high expectations and commitment to engaging in meaningful music education. Above all, I want children to explore music and the beauty and importance it brings us in life. No matter what the world throws at us next, they cannot cancel music. I'm going to end my time singing a song last year's ukulele crew wrote to the tune of Sam Smith's Stay With Me. Your children, the students of Francis Parker School 23, have taught me so much about resilience and kindness in the last 10 months, a trying time for all. Thanks for always teaching me, kids, and keep making music. Oh, won't you learn with me at Francis Parker School 23? Thanks for always teaching me. Oh, won't you learn with me?
Okay, so again, that was Miss P. They have music once a week. Sometimes it's asynchronous and sometimes it is synchronous. Next, oh, hold on. Next slide here. Next, we have Mr. Greer's slide, and Mr. Greer is actually on the meeting. Hi, Mr. Greer. And Would you like to say anything about Jim?
Oh, I would love to if you'd give me a 30-second blurb.
Fantastic.
My name is Mr. Greer. I've been teaching physical education for many, many years. I've been in education for over 35 years. I just want to tell you a little bit about what we try to do in physical education, and it has to do with connecting with other activities that are going on already in the classroom, as well as our own curriculum in physical education. When kids are moving around, we're going on, under, through, by, near, beside. So they begin to learn about prepositions. We do some basic math connections in physical education. 5 of the main areas that I'm working on are right here on my slide. They are flexibility, body composition, muscular strength, muscular endurance, and flexibility. And in each of those videos, I try to encompass one of those or many of those aspects of physical education. My last thing that I'd like to tell you is that I love your children and it's so much fun working with them. It's fun looking at, they feel the same way I do first thing in the morning with that glazed look in their eyes when I'm trying to move and they're not moving a lot of the time, but they're very pleasant to work with, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Greer. And last would be library. And again, you can visit the website if you want more information, but Mrs. Paris is our librarian. Sorry. And as you probably already know, every semester your child switches from library to art just to, so that they have access. So they'll end up having 2 semesters of both. So, which I think actually the semester's ending kind of at the end of this month. So they'll be switching back to what they had at the beginning. So that was specials.
So assessments, we do assessments in the classroom. Some of them are summative assessments, which are given fall, winter, and spring. Now, fall, winter, and spring is for 1st through 6th grade. And we because of the virtual learning, we are not doing NWEA till probably the spring, as well as FMPs. FMPs is a running reading record that we do on your child. We are doing some right now. However, we will not be doing the whole class, and we will continue to monitor that as the year goes on. Other assessments we do is just, if you notice, even in the Seesaw assignments, we do checks for fluency. We have like little quizzes, teacher observations, and we use all of that together to decide like what the child needs and what type of reading instruction and math instruction they need. Oh, our groups are fluid. They change all the time if need be.
Oops, sorry.
So just real quickly, because I know we're running out of time, and a lot of this doesn't really pertain to kindergarten, but there are New York State tests. They start at 3rd grade. Ames was a test that we've done in the past, an assessment that will start probably by February. Stay tuned on that. And of course, the FMPs, the reading assessments, we've started them now, but most likely we'll try to give them in the spring.
And this is just our grading rubric that we use for report cards. It's a 9-point scale. And it's hard, but we never want parents to get caught up on a number. Look more at the growth that your child is meeting. So that's there is a reference for our report cards.
So just some hints at home, read to your child daily, engage in conversation with your child, have them explore and play, especially now since we're not all together. And during our Zoom times, designate a quiet place for schoolwork. So what's next? We know there's a lot of questions about next semester. And like we said, please email Mrs. Yarlett. She will be having meetings weekly every Tuesday night from 6:30 to 7:30, and more information will follow. If that is our curriculum night. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, or you can raise your hand right now. We have about 2 minutes before the next crew comes in, or you can stay and watch it again if you'd like.
We're a pretty small group, so we can be informal.
Does
Thank you
anyone have
guys
any
for
questions?
everything you guys have been doing. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know it's a different situation because we see you guys every single day.
I know, and if you have
Don't
questions,
tell
you
us
can
the
just
curriculum.
ask. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you everybody for coming tonight. And again, if you have any questions, always email us, put us through Seesaw. You know, we try to get back to everybody as soon as we can. And we appreciate everything you guys have been doing because we know that, you know, a lot of you didn't want to be teacher or didn't go to school for teaching and never thought you'd be in this position, and now you are. So we could not do it without you. So
No, you're amazing.
But we will tell Miss P, thank you for her song too. Yeah, Miss P, we have a great staff and hopefully either this year you'll meet them or next year, hopefully things will be different.
we have to be positive. It will be different.
It will be.
But thank you for coming, and I hope you all
Thank
have great
you.
nights.
Thank you. And if you want to watch this again, it will be videotaped.
Bye.
Bye.